Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Sandeep Pednekar, and you're watching One Universe, the talk show based on the non-profit One Universe that fosters positivity through the promotion of love, peace, and harmony. And to promote that love, peace, and harmony, we have Dr. Mark Weiss on our show once again. Welcome, Dr. Weiss.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
Of course, it's our pleasure. So please tell us, what would you like to talk to us and our listeners today?
I'd like to talk about two basic stances, two ways of approaching relationship,
Mhm.
and that almost everything is categorized in one or the other.
Okay.
And those two aspects are called love and fear. And these are reciprocally inhibitive, which means they cannot occur in the same place. Where there is love, there is no fear, and where there is fear, there is no love. You may shift back and forth, but they cannot coexist. Fear shrinks people down. It causes people to withdraw or to become defensive.
Mhm.
And it all seems justified because they're putting fearful things out into the universe and they come back at them. Love is eternal, love extends forever. And that idea is, I mean, people talk about eternity in church terms, etc. But to actually think about the idea that love is eternal
Mhm.
means it really has no boundaries. And it also does not judge. So it doesn't separate people. It doesn't say, well, I love you more than I love that one, or this one loves that one more than that one. That's what creates that either or win lose mentality that destroys relationships.
Okay. So I want the listeners to be clear. When you say I love you more than the other, you are not necessarily talking about a parent talking to their children.
If I were a parent talking in that way, that seems very unhealthy.
Very correct. But you're going even beyond that.
Yes.
So now, in a relationship, of course, uh, the example that you gave, that you cannot have love one person, you cannot say that, oh, I love you more than I love that person. In that scenario, tell us exactly what you mean. So if
Love
it's a spouses, then of course, I mean, you love a spouse. And
more, but the issue is not whether you can love the spouse, love the children. Even the moment you start getting into that comparison,
Mhm.
it's a descension attitude. Comparison says that it's really possible to determine you're a better person than I am.
Mhm.
But that's not the case.
Okay.
We're all, as I think of it, as we're just bozos on the bus. We're all trying to find a relationship that is equal at the emotional, intuitive, um, internal experience. And when we say that love is eternal, that means it has no boundaries. And if it has no boundaries, one part of love cannot be better than another part.
So you mentioned dissension. So you already explained it, but compare dissension and ascension
The dissension attitudes are judgment, evaluation, and comparison.
with others,
Yes.
with
Well, with
anybody.
literally, I mean, if my car is better than your car. It
Mhm.
can be in almost any. The content of it does not really matter. What matters is that you're trying to equalize things that are not equatable. They're in a different realm. When you're talking about love, you're talking about something that's boundaryless, which means it can't. There is no part of it that's better than another part.
Mhm.
So judging is I see you as bad. I judge you. Evaluation is I ask you what are you feeling inside, and then I make it wrong. I find a diagnosis for you, or I tell you what it is that's uh, unacceptable about you. These are all things that diminish our consciousness and limit us. And comparison, again, is this idea that we can compare our value as if they are measurable. But if love is eternal, it isn't measurable. There's no limits to it, and so there are no boundaries with it. So the the ascension attitudes are acceptance, forgiveness, and gratitude. And acceptance is I am willing to be open to the idea that life is constantly moving, expanding, growing, and that my goal is to be able to ride that pony, to be involved in it, to love it, but not to judge it. So comparison will lead you down that pathway. Acceptance says, whatever is, be comfortable with this moment because there's always another moment coming. Forgiveness is saying, I forgive myself for ever having thought less of myself than loving God would. A loving,
Hmm.
whatever you, whether you think of it in church terms or as that part of you that has the right impulse, the
Mhm.
impulse to be loving, to be caring, to be supportive, helpful, and and then gratitude is an incredibly important piece of it
Very
because
true.
as over time you learn that their gratitude can be found in the smallest things. Just simply seeing a small flower coming out of the sidewalk. You can see that as a gift. You can see it as, well, I got to get something out and chop that down. But to be appreciative of the people in your life, that expands and extends. And that's the nature of love. It extends, whereas judging, evaluating, and comparing contracts, pulls in, and
Hmm.
holds close, but is also so defensive that there's no room for love to be.
So, Dr. Weiss, I open and close with the statement that one universe fosters positivity with the promotion of love, peace, and harmony. And I always say that I don't just talk about it, I actually walk the walk. I walk the talk. I live it. I live, breathe, eat. And it is not that I don't know, but what you just said has put all of that love in such a beautiful perspective that I am now loving myself what I do. So I definitely want to thank you. But I also want to see to it that our listeners understand what giving love means. That when you give love, it is something that grows, it doesn't reduce, it enhances you, it gives you not just happiness, but joy.
Yeah. One of the things that I have learned over many, many years is that the way you know you already have love is by giving it away.
Very true.
That's the demonstration that I already have it.
Mhm.
If I do love with the idea of give to get, then I'm trying to make something happen out here to control external things when it's really about finding that inner peace in me and extending love from it.
Very true. I am spellbound by this because what you say not only has meaning to it, but the depth of that is 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 truly deep. And I want our listeners to understand the intensity that the impact of this attitude, this differentiation between dissension and ascension, of fear and love, the impact that it already has on their life is something that they might have realized, they might not have realized, it might be in their subconscious mind. But now it would be time for them to listen to this, to understand this. And understanding is the first step, of course, but inculcating that in their lives is going to make the world of difference for them.
It's very, there are so many shifts when you see love as eternal.
Hmm.
Then it, one thing that we understand about that is that we don't understand it, and that
Hmm.
we may never in our minds, in our thinking minds in particular, be able to understand it. But there are energies in the world, in the universe, that automatically place us in the place of love. And so that's what, when people talk about turning it over, stop believing that you're going to control and when I sit down to work with clients, I put aside my thinking mind for the most part, and I turn it over to an eternal love to guide me, not by telling me stuff, but by literally putting the words in my mouth. And so oftentimes I come out of a session and I'm thrilled and excited and surprised. I didn't know I knew that. Well, I don't know that. There's a knowledge that comes from being devoted to love that comes to you automatically.
Wow. And I say wow because I have had a friend experience the same thing. Uh, she was going through a phase, and I said, you know what? The only thing you need to do is some love. Just have love come through you, and you will notice that people recognize it in you. Your aura will automatically change. And she said, Sandeep, you know what? I did that, and this guy told me, oh, I look so beautiful. This other guy was saying, oh, you look so fresh and nice. And she says, it's a miracle. I said, that is what happens. That miracles do happen. And there are miracles in our life. We breathing in itself is a big miracle. Things that are happening is a miracle. When we know that there are miracles happening in our lives, we see many, many things that, oh, we did not realize that, yes, that's a miracle. So, and I have heard you said that, oh, I enjoyed my session with my client.
Yes.
And for me, that is very impactful, not just for me as a listener, but I understand that you are experiencing that joy. And you explain that, hey, it is not me, but it came to me. You're taking your thinking mind out, and whatever is coming, because you're putting yourself first, you're understanding, you're listening to them wholeheartedly. You are experiencing, I don't know if you empathize with them or not, whether it is
What I
right.
empathize with is what's really true about them,
Okay.
which is the love that's already in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm empathizing, not with their sorrows and the horribles, but with the love
Mm-hmm.
and power of that love.
Mm-hmm.
There's a definition of miracles that makes sense to me, and that is a miracle is a shift in one's perception, how you see the world,
So
that
true.
brings you peace. And so for many of my clients, I'm saying they're trying to make a decision about to go this way or go that way. And I say the way you monitor that is to say, what would bring me peace? What would be a decision that would bring me peace? Because that's something that when you have it, you give it away and you have more of it.
Mm. So when it comes to business, when there are issues, I think, what would a successful businessman do? What is it that made him successful and keeps on him making himself successful and on the path of success and continuous success? So I'm using that as an analogy, and I think that one other thing is also to inculcate would be not just success but peace.
Hmm.
Many times success might be, oh, I want to win over the other,
Win
but
lose.
peace would be, I'm not only at peace with myself, but I am also living in harmony with others as well.
Yes. I bring the peace I seek to the table. And it's not, we teach who we are, not what we say. And I've been teaching freedom for years and years and years. But ultimately, it comes down to that's the lesson I'm here to learn. That when I can see that as my goal is to be this inner peace, then everything gets clearer. It just refocuses me.
Dr. Wise, Um, what you brought up is a huge subject. In fact, I know you can write a book on it, right? Because the knowledge that you have to impart is really immense. It makes sense and it is deep. And what I would like to have listeners do is that take this small snippet of what they have heard today, inculcate in their lives, and then I want them to come for more because I know you have wealth of knowledge, wealth of teachings that I know I am learning, and I know our listeners are going to learn and understand. So I want to thank you for today's small snippet, very important, very impactful. So sincere gratitude to you.
And the same here.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we promised that we will bring Dr. Weiss to you occasionally, and here we are again. So stay tuned in for some phenomenal, life changing snippets that you need to inculcate in your life. This is your host, Sandeep Vedmaker, wishing you a wonderful time. Thank you again, Dr. Weiss,
And
for
thank
coming on
you.
our show. And thank you to you, my listeners from all over the world. I cannot do it without you. I know I want to send out the message of love, peace, and harmony. And we have phenomenal guests. And as you heard, one of the best is with us today. And I thank him and I thank you for being a part of this phenomenal journey. Thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.